All right, everybody. I apologize. I sometimes I walk in the kitchen. I open the refrigerator and I see that there's food in there. Like I had mushrooms that have been there for like 4 or 5 days, haven't been cooked up yet. So okay, I'm gonna saute up those mushrooms. And I forget time, so I was like, okay, I gotta cook these up. Had some mozzarella cheese that was in there for a while. It was all still fresh, sealed up. But so I decided I was gonna. I had leftover tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes, so I had to made a cherry tomato mozzarella onion. Mimsy, how are you doing, you magical creature? Sorry for being late. So I put mozzarella, pasta, cherry tomatoes, onion. So I've cooked so much now. I enjoy cooking. So when I get in the kitchen and I get stuff, I kind of lost track of time. All of a sudden I looked down, I had the pot of pasta. Still had like 5 minutes left, and Larry, you sexy. What's happening? William Haynes, how are you today, brother? Sorry about being late, everybody. You magical veteran, you, William. Again, I get in the kitchen and I just last night I had food that was in the fridge that needed to get cooked up. It was going to go bad against mushrooms, and I made a pasta salad. Yes, Susan, I know. I admittedly it was a senior moment. I got in the kitchen, started cooking, and I looked down at the timer. I was cooking the pasta for my pasta tomato mozzarella onion salad that I'll put a little oil with and a little balsamic vinegar. Tom are better in the kitchen or the bedroom. Well, I'm not answering that, Ira. To be honest, I'm gonna tell the truth. It's like I can't. No, I'm not sucking me into that, Ira. No way. Let me see here. Yes, Danny, how are you? Again, I apologize to everybody for being late. I'd like to make up some better excuse, but it really was I got in the kitchen, saw a bunch of food that needed to be cooked up, and had to do some meal prepping. So, the saute. If you have like fresh, like sauteed mushrooms, you saute them up, put a little garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper. Sometimes put a little balsamic vinegar on it too. Oh man, they're good when they're fresh too. I think what I'll do too is I got a thing of mozzarella, so I don't want to let it go to waste. So I may make another pizza. Let's get the sourdough out, sourdough starter. Lorraine, how are you doing, magical creature? Yes, I spoke to. We messaged each other 2 days ago, I think it was. So he'd gotten in. He'd had the catheter in for like 3 months because of the whole health system there, and so it was had bad infection and everything. So that got cleared out. He took the old catheter out. I guess to antibiotics or whatever to clean everything up. He's feeling a lot better. Had a new catheter put in. He was going back in the hospital. I think it was yesterday. I think to have the final surgery. I was more worried about him, especially, and I guess we should, we want to have fun on this show all the time, but we should pay our respects to the families of Chris Simon and Sof. I can't remember the young Russian player that lost him as well down in Miami. So we want to pay our respects. And I was worried about Bubba. And there's a lot of us calling around each other because, dealt with all this mental health stuff. And you hear stories about Chris Simon, unfortunately, what happened with him. And you start to wonder, okay, are other guys, there's a lot. It's not just hockey players, but obviously in our community, doing shows with people like Clint Malarchuk, Richie Pilon, those guys that had attempted suicide in the past. You kind of wonder if they're okay. And I spoke to both those guys yesterday, and they were fine. I think they've dealt with their stuff. Gone through it all, so they were fine. But Bubba, I was worried about it. We didn't discuss the Chris Simon thing. I didn't know if he knew or not. He seemed like he was a lot better. In fact, he said to me that he'd been through the worst of it, so he seemed like he was fine mentally and physically. But man, that guy's been through a lot of stuff. So our prayers go out to Bubba as well. And again, we want to you got to live with life. We got to have fun and everything, but we do need to. We talk all the time about that 988 hotline and reaching out and helping other people. Apparently from the people I talked to, I had a good conversation with Glenn Healy yesterday as well, the head of the NHL Alumni Association. And a lot of people felt like Chris Simon was okay, that he'd been through the problems with drugs and alcohol and cleaned himself up, but he'd had just broke up with either a girlfriend or wife or whatever. So who knows what was going on in his head exactly. But so it does it's awful, right? Because you care about them. Ken R1, how are you doing there, brother? Good morning. Guys are getting older. You kind of wonder, people want to turn to CTE right away, which may be the cause of it. Who knows? But Part of it is what we learned too is, and again, I've said this before, by no means complaining about the life we've led as professional athletes. It's a dream come true. From childhood, you dream about being a professional athlete. You work hard. It's accomplishing a goal. But it kind of sets you back. For some people, sets them back in a way in that they have been treated differently their whole life, got away with things that they shouldn't have got away with, and treated a certain way that really wasn't the real world. And again, that's nobody's fault. Nobody makes guys playing professional sports. Nobody's being mean to them or using them or anything like that. It's just, you retire from the game mid-30s, whatever it is. And then you realize, okay, I got to get in the real world now. And this is so for 35 years, roughly, you've been living this phony world, which again, is fantastic. And again, there's no complaints about it, but it's, you see when guys have problems, a lot of it is different things, right? It's, not being, some guys get stuck in that. I was a professional athlete before. I was lucky in that, and I say lucky in that I didn't make much money when I played. So when I retired, I had to get to work, get going in the agent business and do other things. So it's, again, very proud to play for both organizations in the NHL. But, time to move on and get on with life. I don't want to be known just as a guy that was a professional athlete. I want to be known as somebody that's done other things. And some guys don't get out of that. And it's almost harder for the guys who were more of star players than I was. I used to leave the garden sometimes. And seriously, and it didn't bother me because I was just used to it that I'd leave the garden and say, "Hey, Don Maloney," or call me something different. And it's just like I was used to it, so it didn't. It's funny. I was down the city. Was it a couple of days ago? Tuesday or whatever, and walking by the garden. It's a day of a game, and there's some fans out there for morning skate looking for autographs. And I was walking by, and you tell they're looking at me like, "I think that's somebody. I think that's somebody." So I'd wave to it. I'd tell people who I'm now. So like, "Oh yeah, I remember you." Had a fun skate. They have JP Morgan Chase. They had them. It was Tuesday. I was down there. Steve Valiquette and I were. Actually, I got a post about that. I had a little video I showed or I filmed. So they had. I thought we were going to go on the ice and skate. We've done that several times where they just have an open skate, you skate around for an hour or whatever, and have some fun. But it was actually they gave me the ice and the guys played a game. So I coached one team and Valiquette coached the other ones. You see here, I'm not confident Tom was going to major suspension for his high stick in the face of an intentional stick fling in his face. Yeah, I know the frustration, especially when you see a guy, there's certain rules too, right? And I can't remember the exact dates. So there's the repeat offender thing, for a guy like Tom Wilson, he's technically may not be a repeat offender because if a certain amount of time goes by where he hasn't committed something that draws a suspension, he doesn't have that category of repeat offender. If it is a repeat offender, obviously the suspension is more. And I know it's tough because, again, he's been suspended so many times, his reputation and everything. So when something happens, I know why fans, I understand why you get frustrated, Susan, there calling the player safety a joke. It's just that, I look at it, you're never going to win, right? And those kind of things. Somebody's always going to be saying this and there's too much of a suspension, not long enough. But I understand. I really do think that their heart's in the right place, that it doesn't matter who the player is. They want the player safer out there. So I was watching Ring of 18. You went to the box. My daughter said you look like the coach of the Ducks in the movie. Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Who's that? What was his name? Oh, God. Yeah. I get told, so sometimes it's, I get Terry Bradshaw. I get The Rock sometimes. Terry Bradshaw, yeah. He's like 150 years old man, fat and everything. Not fair. It's funny. I watch that. I know we joked around with this before in the past, and again, we had this conversation with James Patrick. We had a few guys actually, where we get watching these old games, and I think because so many years have gone by, it's fun to watch it, right? Because you think you kind of can't remember. Okay, was I any good or not? So you're watching games, and especially games where you play well, right? You want to keep watching it. I joked around too that when you make a bad play, it's so frustrating. I turn the game off when I make a bad play. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking about? Emilio Estevez, that's right. Thank you, Curtis. Charlie Sheen's brother. Yeah, I forgot that was Charlie Sheen's brother. What was his name? Gordon Gek was what was his name in the movie too? As a coach, I can't remember what it was. I remember those were funny movies at the time. So again, a lot of conversations going around with people in the NHL alumni guys after the Chris Simon situation. Unfortunately, it was pretty. I was really actually kind of impressed. It's a tough time where people were checking on each other, make sure everybody's okay. It's like it really hits home. Like you're getting older. Like, man, that's. I kind of wonder what was going on in his brain, right? Apparently, I guess. Well, I should be careful. Again, I had a good conversation with Glenn Healy, and we're all friends and teammates. So he tells me stuff, but I should be careful what I learned from him. But it's a sad thing, right? Where if it gets to that point, he had kids and everything. And again, the young Russian player. I don't think without like this is being said with any particular knowledge, but there's some people that are concerned that was it really a suicide. I think they put together that it's the Russian mob was it a hit that somebody. But he'd been dating, from what I understand, this famous tennis player, very attractive young woman. Now she came out publicly and saying that she was not dating him any longer. Now, again, speculating. Could that be part of it? Was he depressed about that? Who knows? But it's really unfair to question. There's so many. Again, I had a former client, Greg Johnson, who committed suicide. 3 or 4 years ago now. And, everybody wants to look at the Enforcer thing and think was his brain damage, or whatever. But remember, you don't have to get hit in the head to get a concussion to get brain damage. So your brain, I think most people know this, your brain floats around in liquid inside your skull. And, any, like a hit, like a whiplash kind of effect, your brain bangs off the inside of your brain. That causes a brain damage. So it doesn't have to be just a tough guy. Greg Johnson was a skilled player. By all accounts, it was sad because I spoke to his wife right after it happened. There was no signs. He had no problems. Didn't seem like he had any mental health issues. He was the night before was out with his wife and his in-laws, and seemed to be fine. Woke up in the morning, and everything seemed to be fine. Did his morning routine, and then took his own life. So it's really, it's really difficult to. But I think it's a lesson too that we just like with everything that's going on now. Just don't like if somebody says that they're sad or whatever. Make sure you really, the best you can. You can't sacrifice yourself as well, but you got to make sure that you really try to, especially people you know and love. So you really take care of them. Hope the NHL has some kind of program set up to help these foreign players in their troubles. Well, technically it's okay. I hear you, William, and I appreciate that comment. See, it's really not the NHL's concern. There's an NHL Alumni Association, and Glenn Healy, who's heading up the Alumni Association, does a fantastic job trying to reach out. But you can't force guys to take help, right? If they don't want to take it. So, yeah, again, and people say, well, and it's true. I had a good conversation with Corey Hirsch about this too, and he said we should have more programs go speak to the current players, which would be great. Talk about finances and mental health and all that. But as a player, and I said to him, you're right, but the problem is, are you guys going to listen? Like, I wouldn't have listened. Like, I didn't care what people told me when I was young like that. I wanted to play in the NHL. I thought I would play forever. I thought I was invincible. So people come and, try to give you help financially and, advice. You just, okay. You listen, you be respectful, but you just go about your business. You're so wrapped up in playing. Yes, that's Konstantin Koltsov. Yes, correct. Again, that was a sad story too. How did he get to that point? Yes, he played for the Penguins. Barry Shelley, how are you, magical creature? Been out shoveling, got a half foot. Oh, did you? We had a little rain here yesterday, but yeah, winter continues on. Is it spring yet? We reached the first day of spring. I can't remember. I think when things become overwhelming, you throw in the towel. Well, that's obviously what's happened to those guys. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a sad subject to. Let me see here. Cheadle didn't get hit in the head this year. It was a solid body. Yeah. We talked before, and I keep forgetting the young guy's name. I know Susan remembered everybody. Well, the defenseman years ago that got hit too by Dion Phaneuf. And I don't believe that was a hit to the head, but he had to retire after that. So, yeah, again, I think it's logical. It seems like, and again, having this discussion with Richie Pilon yesterday, he's a tough guy too, is it the stress that comes with being that fighter? Because you hear a lot of guys talk how when they were fighters, like couldn't sleep the night before, very few guys who were fighters really wanted to be those heavyweight fighters, right? You wonder if that was that mental stress on them. Because again, I don't think the risk of CTE was any greater with the fighters. And I actually saw a video where they or a documentary where they talked about, had a lot of fighters on talking about it. And the doctor came out at the end and really debunked the whole thing. He said, well, listen, I shouldn't say debunked it. He just put another spin on it. He said, listen, there's some number he used, like 5 or 10%, is the reason because of fighters getting CTE. Michael Sauer, thanks, Susan. Yes. So it really, the whole fighting thing, it seems to be, it does seem to be a lot of guys that we've lost have been tougher players. But remember back that one summer where it was Rippon, Wade Belak, and Beauregard, we all lost those guys. But those aren't all suicides. Those were, Rippon was a suicide from what I understand. Wade Belak was more of a self-inflicted accident. I want to be careful because he died up in Canada where I think the laws are different. They don't have to disclose cause of death. But it seemed like in the hockey community, everybody knew what had happened. But again, I don't think it's right for me to, because his family out there, to really say what the people in the hockey community think. And then Beauregard was a drug overdose. So sad either way, but it just, I think a lot of people, I saw a thing on Facebook, and I don't know if people are doing it intentionally, but some guy was listing all the people the hockey players that had died over the last few years and basically lumping them all together as suicides. And they really weren't. There's a lot of guys that just were heart attacks or whatever it was. And like Bob Probert, he was a tough guy, but didn't die from suicide. He was a more heart issue. We lost Willie Huber. From what I understand, that was more of a heart attack, from what I hear. So sad stuff. But, again, it's not just, we're in the hockey world, so we see the hockey, but this is a problem worldwide, mental health issues and people losing people to suicides. And so, again, we just, in my mind, there's so much more that can be done. It's still a topic that people don't want to talk about or handle. But in schools, are we doing enough in schools to really educate people about the signs of themselves having mental health issues, or making sure that they understand it's okay to talk about their mental health issues? So sad stuff, but again, we should if when we lose somebody like we lost these last two players, I hope we take the opportunity to do something about it, right? It's like this family that lost a young boy up in Darien a couple of years ago. They're doing the shoulder check thing, so they're making an effort to do something about it. They've lost their son; they can't change that. So now they're trying to make sure that other people are safe. So, but another I talked about too a few times. A really interesting guy, Riley Cote, who didn't have a long career in the NHL, played like 4 years with the Flyers, was played in the minors too, but was up there. Really, man, he's a fascinating guy. Like really, he's gotten really into the psilocybins and the whole spiritual thing, and how. And I've had a few people say this to me now. And at first, I was kind of like, "Oh, yeah, that's kind of goofy." But when I talk about how, this is really just us living here now. It's just like it's a small blip in who we really are. We go on the afterlife, and I don't know what people believe in that or not, but it's when he talks about it. And again, I get more and more people. It seems when I meet somebody like a Riley Cote and I start trying to learn more about those people in my life. There's a young guy who works at the gym where I belong in Crunch in Port Chester, New York. This guy named Jack, 24-year-old guy, really interesting. Like really has studied all about. I was talking about this Joe Dispenza, and I didn't use his name exactly, but I used him as an example. His story. Joe Dispenza was a psychiatrist, I believe, that was hit by a bus when he was riding his bicycle. I think he was in a race or something. Or hit by a truck, and doctors had told him that he would never walk again. So the story goes that he just he said over and over that he told himself over and over, no, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk, I'm going to walk, and he walked. Now, some could say, listen, that story's just not true. You can certainly entitled to not believe it, but so I was telling the story about this guy, hadn't used his name, and Jack goes, "Oh, is that Joe Dispenza?" I was really impressed that here's this young 24-year-old guy. I think back when I was 24, I didn't study. I had a college scholarship. I didn't study anything. So I was impressed that he knew all this stuff. So really interesting stuff. I don't know where people feel about that kind of stuff, but it's a lot of interesting theories that, this whole, we don't deaf too much, but it's a whole theory about what really happens to you after you die. So we'll get on, move something else. All right. Who we got here? If I was single, kids, any of my life could be, if I was single with no kids, yeah, you better not be. Well, it is interesting. As you do get older, you want to, okay, what's my purpose here, right? So I think that's one of the reasons too. It's so important to learn new things. I saw a video where somebody's talking about, maybe I touched about this the other day, where somebody's talking about, learning. I think I did too. It's that I know Susan came up with his name too, and I'll forget it again. Really intelligent black guy that talks, and I hate to label him as a black guy, but that's how that's what he is. And he talked about, learning, like you learn things in school, or you go to classes at school, like, math or whatever. You think, well, what's this ever going to do for me? But it's really training your mind to work, like training your brain to work more. Like same thing as going in the gym for muscles, you do the same thing. So even if you're not going to use that math, you've now you trained your brain to learn new things. So now something else comes along, okay, your brain has, and they really talk about the science behind it, and it makes sense. So let me see here. I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but the ranch in Otter Pav was just open to players. It was. I just talked to Clint Malarchuk. We didn't cover that yesterday, and he's behind that. There was a ranch that a woman, I believe it was a woman, already had put together. I can't remember. Was it Minnesota too? I can't remember. But anyways, so one building was going to be utilized for like in honor of Pav, particularly for players that need some. So thank you, Barry Shelley. And again, I didn't know if it was open or not, but let me see what Christine, I like this. You're here on earth to learn something every day. Absolutely. You know what? And thanks for saying that, Christine. You know what? I didn't, for years, I went by just, working away, running my agent business and living life and having fun. And I've really learned that more over the last like 7 or 8 years doing this old True Good Life journey. But learning to learn, like just learn new things. Like if it's so easy too nowadays with the internet. And you got to be careful with the internet too. Like there's so many different opinions out there, but learning about your diet and opening your mind too, but you open to new things. Like some people look at, we're talking about death today, but it's death a certain way. Others look at it differently. Like a lot of cultures don't look at it that it's a sad thing. It's like, it's just part of who we are. You're going to die at some point. It should be a joyous event almost where, okay, you're not happy that you're leaving, that people aren't happy that you won't be able to see you anymore, but it doesn't have to be the sad thing. It should be something to kind of celebrate. But see, Tom, thank you, Tom, for your birthday wishes the other day. It doesn't get any better than win over the Islanders. Yes, that's right. Mimsy, happy birthday. What are you, 22? It's 22, right? Yeah, there you go. Let's see. I have a friend's birthday coming up. He loves to read. No, good. Susan's good. Oh, man. Zing, zing, zing. Oh, I like that. Not yet. We'll have it done end of April. The book will be ready. So maybe like put in like a gift card saying that you're going to get a book coming at the end of April, like a delayed gift. Let me see here. Rest in peace, Chris. Yes, we've been talking about it a lot, but thank you, Frank, very much. All the best. He's got several kids. I don't know how many. So that's part of the sad thing too, right? They're going to grow up without their father now. But again, we don't know what's going on inside his mind. Let me see here. My daughter's opened up Tom's mind to pet rats. That's right. Kaylee has her pet rats. Sweetheart, she had a good conversation a couple weeks ago. Let's make sure we keep in touch too. We got to keep talking to her. Very sweet person. So she doesn't have to deal with her father all the time. I'm just kidding. He's a fantastic father. Danny Erickson. Let me see here. Oh, how would I love to be 22? Nah, I'm just joking. You know what though? I know you're saying that, but like people ask me sometimes what age. Maybe it was on the show. Somebody asked me what age we'd like to go back to. I wouldn't. I honest to God, like I love who I am now way better than I ever have. And I think that's a key to life too. Is doing things in your life that make you better all the time. Whether it's fitness is part of it. Your mental health, helping other people. I was in Grand Central the other day, and there's a ramp going up in one section. People have been in Grand Central going outside, and this older gentleman, you could tell he was homeless. He had his wheelchair that he was pushing behind him, and you could tell he wasn't very physically fit, so he's trying to go up the ramp. And I thought, okay, I got to help him. I can't, he was really struggling to get there. So and again, he was obviously some mental health issues. So I said, sir, do you need help? He starts yelling at me. But you know what, though? I thought to myself, all right, he's got his things he's dealing with. And, I felt like I did the right thing to try to help him. But actually, there's a woman that was looking at him, too. He was walking with her husband. I said, I think we should help. And she said, yes, we should. So I went over. And it was more funny. I don't make fun of somebody, but it was the whole scene was, I think I tell that more because, there could be sometimes people don't want the help, right? And you're trying to do the right thing, but it shouldn't stop you from trying to help people. If they say no, then no harm, no foul. It doesn't cost you any money. Anything like that. Ron Jameson, you magical veteran. How are you up in beautiful Buffalo? I'm assuming they must have got some snow up there as well. Hope you're doing well. Let See, yeah. How about the other side of that age, Chris? If there's an age you'd like to go back to, maybe change something. Ah, man, like little things like I got divorced twice. So I look at the first two. I think, well, we just never should have been married. I'm not criticizing her. I'm not criticizing myself. We never should have been together. But I had my two sons out of that. My second marriage was a fantastic person. She wanted to have children. I didn't want it. So again, you could look at it that was failed marriages, but I don't. I look at it, those were experiences where, again, I got my two sons out of my first marriage. And then second marriage was a fantastic person. We just, on a fairly important topic, we just didn't agree. And then she went off on her own to have her own children. So I just, it's a great question, Mimsy. It's just, I look at I've told all the stupid things I've done before. I just feel like I've always, like, it's made me better. Like I told a story. I think I told a story here. I was watching an old video of us playing the LA Kings my rookie year. And I was carrying the puck up the ice. It's a playoff series, game 4. We won the game and ultimately beat them out of the playoffs. I'm carrying the puck up the ice, and I went to pass to Ron Duguay. And it was like 5 feet in front of me. And it was like a grenade went off of my stick. The puck bounced up in the air, went right to this Larry Murphy, who was a really good player, Hall of Fame player. Wasn't at that time, he was a rookie as well. Right to him. My first reaction was just to run him over. Like I think I'd made so many mistakes in the past, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. my reaction to things. And Tom Smith, who just makes a comment here, he's witnessed it too. He's just plowed through it. That's just anything that happens, the immediate reactions plow through. So on all those things that happened to me, any mistakes I made, that's what I learned. Just plow through and just keep going. And let me see here. Yes, prayers for those who mentioned. Yes, I agree on it. We all need to help each other more. Yeah, we talk about Chris Simon. Obviously, we lost him 2 days ago, and then the young Russian player the day before that. So it's a tough time for the NHL. You did a great job today. Yes, thank you, Tom Smith, my producer and friend. His beautiful wife there in that picture. Man, she went way better looking than you, Tom. What she was thinking. She needs to sit down and have a little talk with her. I guess you can't really change it. She's stuck with but yes, so on our Full Change podcast, which you can listen to on all podcast platforms, please like, share, and comment. The best for us is on Apple. If you can make a comment on Apple, that helps us the most. Yeah, we had Graham Townsend, a really interesting story. Yeah, like not a really long NHL career, but really talking like the way he fought through things. Went to RPI, I believe it was. Like his life story was, and what we've done now, and Tom's doing a great job of this, getting guests that I don't know at all. And I really don't know their story. And really, so we learned the story. I learned the story of life as the audience does too. It's funny, we had, what was that big defenseman that we had on? And we started the show and we didn't know all stuff. And he was a very intelligent guy. He goes, "Do you guys do any homework at all?" I had to explain to him. I said, "Well, this is the way we do this format for our show." Andy Sutton was this guy. He's an intelligent guy too. He was like, "Oh, so again, Full Change podcast on all podcast platforms. Again, the best is for us on Apple. If you can like, share, and make a comment there, that'll help us the most. But no offense. Okay, what's Susan? No offense, but shouldn't you and she have discussed that before you got married? Oh yeah, it had been discussed. I mean, the fact that I had a vasectomy made it pretty clear that the decision was made to not have more kids. So it's a great question, Susan. It didn't offend me, but it's been asked a few times. It's a fairly important topic. So yes, she just I think she was a fantastic person. It felt like maybe I would change my mind down the road. But anybody that's had children knows that having children is one of the best things, if not the best thing you ever do in your life. It's also one of the hardest things you do too. So yeah, Graham was he was a good storyteller. We've had some good storytellers, aren't we? Yeah, get Pete Townsend on. Danny. Sometimes I got to tell you. Sometimes we wouldn't be who we are if we make mistakes. Oh yeah, totally. The important thing is to learn from them. Did they make us a better person? And it's an interesting topic, Christine. Thank you. Like learning from your mistakes. So here's the problem for me. What I've learned from my mistakes is, and again, I guess I'm around so many really big time type A personalities, or I've used this example so many times with one of the hockey players I respect the most, both on and off the ice, was Larry Robinson. And he had this play where coming out of our zone, he'd come around the back of the net and just fire it right up the middle of the ice, try to hit somebody on a breakaway. And inevitably, sometimes he would get picked off and the other team would go in to score a goal. But he just continued to do it. He just keep going. And that's the thing. So whenever I would make a mistake in the past, I don't think I would learn from my mistakes. I would just go harder. Who was I talking to the other day? Oh, I can't remember who it was. It was a former player too. I'm talking how when we did things in the past, we would actually really, and I laugh about this now looking back at these things, I'd actually really think, well, that, at the time, that was a good idea to be doing what I was doing. So, the big example was, I thought I'd ruin my career, was, the Canadian Olympic team experience. But I went back to college in my senior year and just went harder, like in everything, being a leader as a player, and it ended up making me better. So the only thing I learned from my mistakes was, okay, just like you say, Christian, I'm going to make mistakes. Well, once I make it, just go harder. So it's just thought through, like I was just dying laughing watching this video of us playing the Kings, because I'd watched that video before, but I really never paid attention to it. Now I'm much more aware of myself and how I handle things. And when I turned the puck over, there was no hesitation whatsoever. It was just go run them over. And I think I really, thinking back my thought process at the point, I didn't, I think I made so many mistakes, like individual mistakes on the ice or decisions and Olympic team, whatever it is, that I just realized, okay, don't stop and think about it. Just go harder, run over somebody. And that's the way I handle it. And I don't recommend that necessarily to everybody. I think it's important that you do learn from mistakes. If you do something, okay, do it differently. But man, I think there's also that thing that, okay, if you really believe that you're doing the right thing, like clearly that pass was not the right thing, but I didn't tend to make a bad pass. I intend to make a smart pass. It just didn't work out. So I learned, okay, don't dwell on it whatsoever. Don't doubt yourself. Don't think about it. Just go harder. Again, I don't know if I should recommend that to everybody. I think it is important for young people to learn things, but yeah. I find it extremely difficult. Yeah, I know. Tom Smith and I disagree on this too, where he actually knows PK and he comes more from the marketing side and how PK is. It's just not the hockey way, right? It's great. It's nice to have personality. Like Kevin Weeks is fantastic on NHL Network. He's got a fun personality. He pokes fun at himself. He gets sweating. He calls him something like a chocolate lollipop or something like that. He's got a good sense of humor, but it's not goofy stuff. It's just, again, it's not. I think part of it is too, the hockey people look at PK from his career and say, listen, you screwed it up. He's a Norris Trophy winner. And by the end of his career, he wasn't even the best defenseman on his own team and didn't handle like the slew footing and the stuff he was saying and doing. It just was and I understand what he was thinking. He was in some ways you look at it and say, okay, he's smart. He's preparing for after the game. He's building a brand for himself. But it just, hockey people want you to be like the players in the locker room. That's such an important thing. Like as such a talented guy like he is, coming in the locker room, you want him to be prepared and concentrate on winning the game. And all the other stuff that he was doing, if I was a teammate, I'd be like, I would probably look and say, PK, you're a fun guy. I'd love to hang out with you. Let's have a beer. But come on, let's concentrate on the game. Concentrate on us winning. And, he got away from that. And then the way he conducts himself. Now, I'm a Susan on that. It's just not. Like if I'm Mark Messier and I'm going on air, there's a certain amount he's got to be saying like, oh, God, this is cringeworthy here. Let me see. Reacted. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. No, I agree, Wayne. Again, I want to be careful that I don't say it because I know it is important to learn from your mistakes. So it has just never been. I never learned. I would just, what I learned? It was, okay, I made a mistake. Go hard. Like, go, keep moving. Don't stop. Which, again, especially young people, I want to be careful that I don't set that example for them, that's always the way to do things. Everybody's got to do their own thing. I just grew up in that environment where I was that farm boy, and in the environment then with hockey and the way I played was that, big physical, defenseman. And that's the way, like I'd watch the old games now. It is funny because I like the less the puck's on my stick, the better. And it's like, I know that too. I watch myself play, and that's why it's so fun to watch the old games. It's not an egotistical thing. It's more like, okay, what was I like when I played? Like there's living proof. Okay, what were you like when you played? So But if I make a mistake too, again, I know I told the story ties, but with James Patrick, I said that to James and he was laughing. We make a mistake, we turn it off right away. We're like, we're mad at ourselves 40 years later for making a mistake in a game. Let me see here. Hold on. Get Val James on the podcast. He was long ago whose father worked at. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, I love to get Val James on. Yeah. Yes, I love to. Subban seems like appeal to. Yeah, probably true. Yeah, we're the old. I'm the old. Clearly, I'm old school hockey guy where it's team, concentrating on playing the game. But like I said, I give him credit. It looks like he certainly was aware of building a reputation for himself and a brand for himself for after the game, and it's worked. He's on TV, national TV, so give him credit for that. But it just again, and again, you're right. It's probably the younger crowd goes, "Oh, that's cool," right? Give one last look and see you on. Good morning, Tom. Jack, how you doing? Again, I apologize to everybody. I'll be totally honest. It was funny. I was, like I said at the start of the show, I walk in the kitchen there sometimes. I open the refrigerator door, and I'm addicted to cooking now. So, there's a package of mushrooms there. And I had some mozzarella cheese that hadn't been used, cherry tomatoes. So I got to cooking and got to do some meal prepping and looked at the clock. It was 10:20. And I still had the 5 minutes left on cooking the pasta. So we had pasta, mozzarella cheese, onion, cherry tomatoes. We'll put a little balsamic vinegar in there, some salt and pepper. Oh my goodness. What I've learned though is you can't I don't put the balsamic vinegar in on the big batch. It's when I separate it into a separate bowl, then I'm going to eat, then I'll put the balsamic vinegar on it. It like soaks in and gets, after a couple of days, gets nasty. Got the sourdough starter out. I think because we got some mozzarella cheese there and some other cheese, we're going to go for a pizza this Sunday on our cooking show. I don't know what we'll put. Trying to get some different toppings, some ideas for toppings. Maybe do. I'll go. Oh, I don't know. Let me think. Last night I've done some meal prepping, so I had the package of ground turkey too. So we made turkey balls. Put an egg, panko, breadcrumbs, some shredded cheddar cheese. Mozzarella cheese. Yes. No, not mozzarella. Parmesan cheese, and then put some garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper. Anything else we put in there? I think that was it. Ooh, nice taste. Put them in the air fryer. Oh my goodness. I've learned little tricks you learn too. Like, if you're rolling your turkey balls or meatballs, whatever, put your hands in water first. So then the meat won't stick to your hands. You think, it's going to get water. You cook it, it dries out, it doesn't get all watery. Still trying to nail down our sourdough. I'm not totally happy with our sourdough bread. The taste is good and everything, but I want to get that like fluffier, risen up more. I'm using yeast that the expiration date says it's still good, but talking to people like Molly, who we do our show with, saying that I've had it for 2 years. She said the yeast does go bad after a while, so I'm going to get a new thing of yeast. Tonight we'll be in where are we at? New Rochelle tonight. We're at the let me show you where we're at. We're at the Davenport Mansion in New Rochelle, New York. The New Rochelle Youth Hockey Association have their banquet, so I'll be there speaking tonight. Looking forward to that. I'm assuming I'll know some people there for doing events. So beautiful New Rochelle, New York, home of Mary Tyler Moore. Wasn't that where she was from? Mary Tyler Moore? That's what the show was? New Rochelle. Fun town. New Rochelle is one of those interesting towns too. It's got some really rich areas and some lower income. I'm looking forward to it. 6:30, I'll be there making a little presentation, speaking. Everybody knows I love to speak now. Let's see. What do we got? Gave one last look. Oh, yeah. Val James, great fighter. And Nikki, a lot of credit for helping him. Yeah. Well, Nikki will give himself a lot of credit. Never seen anybody talk about himself so much. Nick Fotillo. I'm trying to bait Nikki a little bit. We're trying to get him on our Full Change podcast, and I'm going to try to bait him into to defend himself. Yeah. You may have a conversation with Nikki. It's just like him talking about how great he was all the time. I did this and I did that. You're a good, clean, hard nose. You kicked ass when you had to, but you played honest. I always thought you could have played with me. Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Like you come in. Well, there's a few things that happen, right? You come in thinking you're going to kick the crap out of everybody in the National Hockey League. Then you start playing against Gillies and Nystrom and all these guys, and you realize, I could fight. I showed I could fight, and then, but I tell you, the mind games about fighting, and you hear guys talk about it, is like, once you come in, and you're known as a fighter, then you're expected. Especially back then, you're expected to fight, and God, that time, like every team that played against had 2 or 3 guys So you're up the night before, and then Herbie came in and really he didn't want me fighting that much. I'd stick up for my teammates, but let me see here. People complain about Emily Kaplan, but I think that she does a good job. She's a broadcaster, I'm assuming. I don't watch that much hockey now. Another song about Jeremy Raslovic has been a great fit on the top line. I don't always need. Yes, totally, Susan. I agree 100%. And everything you said there. I think that's, again, we saw that last year, and I know they kind of had to go get Kane because he's coming out publicly and saying that he wanted to play with him. But like you change your top six, like you bump people down out of that top six and put it because you just don't automatically walk into a locker room and mess with everybody. It takes some time sometimes. And so I agree. It's a depth that's, besides one of the top teams in the league so far. Why would you change things that much? You add to it? Absolutely, but she did that. So no, I agree totally. I think Drury's a fantastic GM. Like people talk in the past, ask questions like, will he get fleeced on trades? It's really hard to get fleeced on trades now. I think it's really difficult to get fleeced on a trade now because you don't, like, somebody doesn't say, okay, let's do this for that, and say, okay, let's do that. 2 minutes later, the deal's done. It's like, okay, you make a presentation to me, what you want to do, we'll negotiate back and forth. He goes, sits with his people that he really trusts and make a decision on the right trade. So most teams, it may look bad in some cases because there's money involved. So the player for player part of it may look bad to fans just at first blush. But again, sometimes there's money involved where you're saying, okay, well, I need to get money off the books so we can have more room on our cap. So we're going to give up more than maybe what we should for this player. So a lot of factors there. Mike Hall from Russ Brothers drove from BC to Toronto, then to Vegas. Now I got the feeling of being a Canadian. Saw what Kamloops. Oh yeah, it's a different world out there, man. Go through the prairies in Canada, you go for miles. I've heard an agent visits too. Can't remember the player, but there's a few times where people are giving directions, or you go to visit the family at their home in the farm country, and there's no street signs. They say, okay, we'll go to the third grain elevator and make a left-hand turn, and then go to you'll see a group of cows there and make a right-hand turn there. It's pretty funny, but I was somebody used to growing up in farm too. We had street signs. Oh, did we have street signs? I can't remember if we did. But ours was, so Highway 10 went up north. So every road on the west side was first line west, second line west, third line west. And then on the east side, it's the same thing. And then the side roads, they were called side roads. So it was 15th side road or 20th side road or whatever. All right, William Haynes, have a great day, my brother. Safe on that train out there. Get people where they need to be. Hope you're doing well. Another glorious veteran there for us. But true returns, if you're do you put Miller back together? You keep Miller and Schneider, pair captain and another. I thought Connor Miller struggled a bit this year. Maybe what he's, like Trouba is that veteran, guy that's been around, steadying force. That he'll handle the physical play. To me, if you can get more out of Miller by having him play with the Trouba, then I would do that. But I like Schneider a lot. I think his future is, again, I judge guys a lot on their character too, especially defensemen, those big physical guys being leaders. So, let's see, yeah, I think he said Trans-Canada Highway, man. The weather was brutal. Whiteouts. Oh yeah, Trans-Canada Highway going through there. It is. Again, spending so much time out there when I was an agent. You got to drive at night to games and everything, and you're out there. There's no signs. There's no street lights or anything like that, and you're driving. If you go off the road, it's freezing cold. You're in trouble. And again, you're out there. I couldn't bring stuff with me if you're living out there. I've got blankets and everything in the car, but you couldn't do that when you're flying out there. So, hi Tom, did you ever get a chance to explore Long Island? Yeah, I've been in Long Island quite a bit. Yeah, a lot of events out there and everything. Yeah, I love Long Island. It's just the traffic is not great, but as far as like the beaches and all that kind of stuff, like Jones Beach. I went to a couple of concerts out at the amphitheater out there at Jones Beach. That was cool. We barbecued out there, had some steaks, and I was with a girl, and this guy comes by, had the steaks going. They smelled great too. And this guy comes walking up, can you have some of your steak? No, can't have some of my steak. I didn't know the guy. Can you have some of my steak? No, get lost. She was wondering, like, okay, we're getting a brawl out here. But I think we had the black t-shirt on, so I give him a lot of credit for coming up and asking, but he certainly wasn't getting any. He seemed like one of those guys who was probably like, I think he's all like Mr. Big Balls and everything like that. So he usually got his way. No, you're not getting any steak. Not going to embarrass me in front of my date either. Show her who's boss. I haven't watched him that much. Susan's probably got a better take on him than I do. But it's fun. Like even when I go to a game now, they have us doing so much stuff, which is great. Going up in the suites and everything. We don't get a chance to really watch the game too much. It was actually the game I was at the last, sitting beside a young guy. He was friends with Adam Graves' son. And he was with two girls, two professional hockey players. One was a captain of the New York team, and it's awful. I can't remember her name right now. But yes, Capo. I did see some of the highlights there where Tom Cuck was showing his shot, and he's starting to get some confidence. Yeah, well, it's funny, right? Because I've heard people say sometimes, not everybody, but some people say, geez, he's making like $15 million a year. Why doesn't he have confidence? Well, it doesn't matter how well you're like back when we made $60,000 a year, you still lose your confidence sometimes. And it's weird the way it happens. Like, I think so much of it is you care so much about how your teammates look at you. So if you are not doing the job properly, part of what happens is and we probably overthink this. Not probably, we do. We overthink it because everybody makes mistakes. And that's another funny thing about watching these games where, like Barry Beck and Carol Vadnais are playing together, a pair of these two veteran guys. They make mistakes. It doesn't mean they're playing bad or bad players. They make mistakes. And I think that's a good thing for life too. I wish I'd know more about that when I was playing, is that everybody makes mistakes. But when you're playing, or if you're in the business place or in a relationship, you think you're the only one making mistakes. Well, you realize, no, it's not true at all. Everybody makes mistakes. That's part of life. It's a huge part of life. But I think it's learning that. Once you learn that, I think that really helps your confidence more to realize, listen, I'm a good person, especially if you put the work in. If you're not putting the work in, well, then it's different. Because if you're putting the work in, then you give yourself a license to be confident. You know that you've done the work. You know that you go to practice early, you stay out late. At the workplace, if you get there early, you do your job, help others do their job. Now you've got more confidence in yourself. And same thing for your relationship too. If you don't work at the relationship, whether it's the friend or marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. Tom, I want that steak and chicken speak. That ball. I had hair back then, you son of a gun. Danny, very funny, very funny. He's been terrific. Filled in seamlessly. His play shows why Rangers haven't put him on waivers. He picked up a heartbeat. Good. I like that. See, Susan knows. Better go to the source. Go to the source. Susan knows. Well, I was thinking about Susan's brother the other day too, Larry Brooks. I don't know why it came up. I read something, and I told the story at the event that Susan put together with all the other fan clubs around and it's true. I admire Larry so much. I don't always agree with him, and I think that's the great thing with Larry. He's not there to just be bland. He's got an opinion, and his job is to give that opinion. And he doesn't care who it is. If he's going to rip into somebody for the way they played or management, or whatever, he's going to rip into them. And I just admire that so much that he's like that. Again, I don't know. I told the story about how I was totally wrong. He was right. I'd said something to him that I thought was more in private, but it wasn't them. Talking to Larry about hockey, and he's a reporter, and there's no conversation saying, Larry, this is off the books or off the record. It was, nope, we're having a conversation, and he used it. And I remember it was Don Maloney was assistant GM, and Glenn Sather was the GM, and it was with Brian Berard. I made some comment that, he had the option to sign with Toronto or the Rangers. And I made some comment that the Rangers were not as far along to win the cup as Toronto was, which I think most people would have agreed at that time. But so Larry wrote that. And I read it the next day, and I said to myself, I said exactly that. He didn't, take it out of context. There was no. So I called Don up, and he was kind of chuckling because he knew it wasn't that big of a deal, but he knew that Glenn was going to, Glenn, that's Glenn's way. He's going to take advantage and kind of give it to me a little bit. And he says, and so I called Don up, and he was laughing. He says, I don't know if he said to me it's not that big of a deal. He says, well, obviously you shouldn't. And I told him, I can't, there's no excuses. I can't tell you that I didn't say it. I can't tell you that Larry's lying. I can't tell you I took it out of context. I said exactly what Larry wrote. So I called Glenn up, and of course, we had to sign the contract. He said, well, maybe we'll just do this contract then if you don't like it. He wasn't going to stop doing the contract. He was just trying to, that was Glenn's way. He saw an opportunity there to kind of give it to me, so he did. So I don't know why I thought of that with Larry, but no, I do admire him. He says what he thinks. Amazing, no matter the level that anything comes back to our brains and how we process things and think, perceive. In pro sports, the right coach can make all. Well, the coach does make a difference in that who he likes and doesn't like. I had Freddie Shero liked me, Herb Brooks liked me, Ted Sater liked me when we first got there. But yeah, once look at like I had a good conversation with Dave Maloney the other day. Herb Brooks loved Dave when they first started, but along the way he didn't, and they got to the point where I thought one of the best teams we had with the Rangers that '84 team that lost to Islanders. Dave and Ron Greshner didn't play. They were healthy scratches for 3 of the first 5 games in that series, and those are 2 great players. But Herb didn't like him for whatever reason and didn't play him. So yeah, the coach really makes a difference. He can make a difference in the team. But the general manager plays a huge role too, like getting the pieces of the puzzle together. And the coach has to, but yeah, I had other coach, Robert Ftorek loved me out there in LA. When Tom Webster got there, he didn't like me at all. So it was rough going. That's the way. I mean, there isn't many players, those star players. Like even Rob Ftorek, the way he coached didn't mesh with Wayne Gretzky. It doesn't mean he didn't think Wayne Gretzky was a great player, but 2 different styles altogether. So, Jackie. But to me, he is great. He has responded by me. Okay, great. That's good to hear. I just saw the a-hole part there. So, yeah, I think that's the word you got to use for Larry is respect, right? And I think that's what he wants. He knows not everybody's going to like him. And that's not what, Pierre McGuire's like that too, and he's not on TV anymore. But there's some people just hated him. But it was because he had an opinion. He gave his opinion, but he didn't agree with it. Wally Thacker, how are you, you magical creature? Let me see here. I thought Herb Brooks' first season with Rangers was his best. Yeah, it was good. Although, like I said, that '84 team, and I know we lost in the first round, but we should have won that series. And that was the Islanders. That was their first year they didn't win the cup after winning 4 consecutive cups. And like I said, I've said this many times, Clark Gillies came on the show and said that he thought that if we'd won that series, we could have won the Stanley Cup that year, which was a nice compliment, but also like, oh yeah, thanks. It's just, man, we were good. And again, I don't think it was necessarily that like talent-wise, there's right pieces for the puzzle, like like the Larry Patys of the world, bringing him in. Bob Bruck came in at that time after the '84 Olympics. James Patrick played a huge role with our team then. As a rookie player, sort of Bob Bruck, but James. Well, I played with James, so I saw firsthand how good he was. Just man, he just like really, like he played like a veteran too, like speed with the game, carrying, taking charge. Like we really hit it off. Like it was like you could sell it. Like okay, I was a defensive guy, get it to James as quickly as possible, let him go, and that's what we did. And he was good. So that was a fun team to play on. But again, like I said, and I didn't realize how Herb was. We talked about Mike Allison, where he contemplated suicide because Herb was so hard on him. But like it's funny because Mike played such a huge role in the team too. He wasn't that goal scorer anymore. He's more the defensive guy. But I just, again, he's a friend of mine. So if the Rangers had a physical coach or a coach who liked the fighters, guys like Cam Conner may have had good. Yeah, no question. And again, watching Mike Backman play. Yeah, that's the thing. The Herb thing. Herb was great for me. But that 80-81 team that we had, we went to the semifinals. If we had kept that team together, I just, back. I don't know if he was there for 80-81, but that team, you're always making, like the Islanders, I think it is like 16 guys played in all 5 of those series where they've gone to the finals. And 4 of them they won. And I say that because it's just like you got to keep them together. You're making little changes here and there, but keep the core group together. Because watching us play in 80-81, man, I was really like the Dean Talafas and those guys. Like Dean was a very religious guy, and he killed penalties with Ron Duguay. It's just kind of funny watching the 2 of them together because they're out there on the ice talking to each other, and they're really doing a great job killing penalties, but they live such different lives. Yes. How about Torsten? Oh yeah, and yeah, I know, man. I say I don't watch the Flyers that much. That's Torts. It shouldn't come as a surprise. And I'll tell you, it was interesting. Couturier came out publicly and talked about how he wasn't too happy about it. And I don't blame him. I don't think Torts would blame him either. He wouldn't want him to be happy about it. You don't ever want to, if a player, like if you bench a player, especially like your captain of the team, and then he comes out and says, oh, it doesn't bother me. Well, I'd be concerned about that. I want him to be mad about it. And I'm sure Torts is the same way. Torts is all like sending messages too, right? Was it really picked, singing it out, Couturier, or was it meant as a message to everybody else? I don't know. I don't know what he said about it too. I actually played with a little bit with his father, Couturier's father in LA. He was actually a good player. Savannah, yeah. So I remember Herbert started, and you guys were going backwards and trying to play the Russians, and the Rangers were killed the first 3 games of Brooks. Oh, did they? I can't remember that. I didn't realize that. Oh, yeah. You know, it's so funny. You look back and stuff, and I'm glad you remember that, Jack. I just, as a player, especially as a young player, I think as you get older, it's different, but you're just oblivious. You're just playing, right? Like, especially the media back then, like, it was just newspapers. It wasn't like you could go online or there's Twitter or anything like that. So we really we're so much. The only time I remember is when Frank Brown ripped me, and he's writing for the Daily News. Daily News, yeah, and just said how bad I was playing and everything. And I sulked like a little baby. Wouldn't talk to him for like a month or something. And he and I got on great. And he came to me and said, "Tom, you're not playing well." And I realized, yeah, I'm not playing well. And he actually woke me up because I was just not paying attention or get complacent or whatever it was. And it was actually a really good lesson for the rest of my career, because I wasn't that good of a player that I could kind of go into okay, I'll get there when I get there mentality. I had to show up every day and do my job. And so I thanked Frank in person, but he really did help my career because I wonder too, like he was pretty close to Herbie. I don't know if Herbie told him to do it or not, but Frank had his own mind too. I don't know. That's not fair to say to him about him because he spoke his own mind, but never forget, I sulked like a little baby for, it was a while too. It was a month where I remember I wouldn't talk to him. And I showed him I would talk to him too. I'd look right at him and not talk to him. Like, I'll show him kind of mentality. To his credit, he was the one that broke the ice. He finally came to me and said, "Tom, you're just not playing well. Like, I have to write it. What do you do? Like, write that you're playing well when you're not." He also wrote one time, I don't know why, I think about it now. I think I saw the article. We played a game in Washington and we're losing the game. And I don't know if Bubba and I really ever said anything, but we just started hitting everybody. We said, like, if they're going to beat us, we're going to hammer every one of them. And Frank wrote it in the paper the next day too. He saw it happen, and he was like, "Back and Laidlaw played like linebackers." I'll never forget we wrote that. I was so fired up, but to be lumped in with Barry and to say that you played like linebackers, so it was pretty cool. Frank Brown, he's a good man. Worked for the NHL for a long time too. I think he's retired now. Moving up, somebody said he's moved up to Vermont or something like that. But he's a good guy, good writer, good person. He was a good guy. He had to do a tough job at the NHL too. Let me see. Tom to me, Walt McPhee. He was good. Yeah, good guy too. I remember seeing him around all the time. Big guy. Yeah, he wrote well, and he was the same way. Those reporters around here in New York, especially, right? They got a job too. That's not just to be, report the news mildly. It's like have opinions. And if we're not playing well, that's their job. This is New York. People just don't like. I've told the story about playing at Madison Square Garden all the time. It's the greatest place in the world to play. But at the same time, especially as a young player, you need to know that Ranger fans are going to let you know what they think. Doesn't mean they hate you. In fact, they love you. But they're going to let you know if you're not playing well, if you're not playing hard. It's not even just people saying things. It's just like this. You feel it in the building, where this like fans are like, "Okay, come on, let's go. We can do better than this." And it's intimidating at first, I'll tell you. And again, when everything's going great, it's fantastic, right? But if you're not playing hard enough, like even the Rangers fans are great. If you make a mistake, they're going to live with that. But like they said, I joked around about making the bad play and then running over Larry Murphy. So all the Ranger fans saw was that, okay, I made the mistake, but then I ran somebody over. And I remember Steve Vickers got the puck and had a great scoring opportunity. So the crowd was going nuts. They don't care. Tom made a stupid play, but they could care less. That play's over with, and he did something about it and took forward. So, but it is when you're young, when you first come in there, I do see with some players, I kind of wonder how much all these young guys like Hedl and Taco and Lafreniere, does that affect them? Because especially with a guy, these high draft picks, there's expectations, right? And the Ranger fans are knowledgeable. They know, they're just coming watching the game. They know where these kids have been drafted and what the expectations are. So they're not playing up to. So sometimes the tendency is to say, "Well, I'm not going to do anything because I don't want the fans singling me out," which is the wrong way to look at it. But it does happen. And then once you get past that, you realize it's easier because you realize, okay, I'm going to make mistakes, but as long as I'm working hard to overcome those mistakes, the Ranger fans would be great. But they are good. I still have Jerry book on called A Season in Hell. Massive injuries destroyed the team after. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So in the last book, they had the great 100 greatest. What was that? 87th on that 100. So now after a few years, they have the greatest 200, or else I won't be in the book. That's good players since then. That's you look at the players they've had over the last few years, like the Ryan McDonoughs, obviously Henrik Lundqvist, Ryan Callahan. That's a really good players come through here. See why they haven't won the cup. They only got there that one year, but I think in Ranger fans, I mean, we've seen some really good players come through, and so great players now too, like Panarin and Zibanejad, Kreider. Wonder where it'd be interesting, like look in the future, right? Was just Sturkin and see, okay, where will he sit? Let's say he plays for 15, 17 years, whatever it is. I wonder where he'll sit as far as the greatest players and greatest goaltenders. He's got the potential to be, well, I mean, it's hard to go past what Lundqvist has done, but he's got the potential to be as good as Lundqvist as far as looking at his whole career. And if he wins a cup, it may put him past him. But again, that's a big debate, right? Is like even for Hall of Fame stuff, if you don't win a cup, should you how good do you have to be? It really shouldn't be that. That shouldn't be it. But winning does really kind of solidify players' position. All right, everybody, we've got an hour here. Be babbling away. Let me see here. Susan, final comment here. All right, not supportive Capo. Let me see. Can see you. Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. That's the thing. The Ranger fans are knowledgeable. Like the effort part of it. Just work hard. Okay, you're not going to. And again, even if you work hard and make a mistake, you may hear from the crowd when a mistake happens, but 5 seconds later they'll be cheering for you again. It's not. That's the thing you've got to learn. That the Ranger fans love the Rangers because they may say something like point out your mistake. Doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means that they want to win. They want their team to do well, and they're invested in it. So, his 19 is recently discussing Bobby Orr and his games. Oh, I didn't know. On a podcast. Oh, he's on not his podcast. Oh yeah, Bobby Orr. I don't think people like. I probably forget how great he was too. Go back and look at the old videos. It's just like he was playing with boys out there. Like he was a man playing with boys. It's so incredible because it just it was almost and he did it all the time, and he's such a competitor. You just expected it all the time. But if you look back and think, geez, he was so much, and some other great athletes. And it wasn't like these other guys weren't any great athletes, and just did whatever we want to do. Christine, thank you. Yes, everybody have a fantastic day. Again, I know we want to make a habit of it, but especially after what's happened the last couple of days here with the deaths of a couple of NHL players. Let's really make sure we're helping each other out. Again, that 988 hotline, shoulder check. Really make a point. Just don't assume that somebody's okay. Really ask them if they're okay. Go to your way. People you love, and if you're walking down the street, some person just help them out. And sometimes it's just showing that somebody cares about somebody is really a big deal. So, all right, everybody, let's have a fantastic day. Great weekend. We'll see you next week. Everybody be safe out there.